Gramex supports auto reloading functionality for Python files and for configurations. So let's say we have a configuration where we are calling a certain module. Let's do this. We'll create a mm, let's create a gramex.yaml file. And in this, we have a URL. Well, let's take exactly this code. And this at /func, actually, let's just make it the home page. On the home page, yeah, replace it. In this home page, it will call your module.run. Now, let's create a your module.py. And what this function run, which should take a handler by default, will do is, let's say, import random and return random dot randint from 0 to 100. So some random number between 0 and 100. Let's run this. That started Gramex. We have a problem URL. Oh, I forgot to put in the name of the URL. Let's say home is this and run Gramex. That has loaded, and I'll press Control B to open the browser. And on the home page, I have the number 73 and I keep reloading it. It gives me a different random number. Supposing I don't want to return a random number between 0 and 100, I want a random number between, let's say, 100 and 200. Now, what I'm doing is changing the Python file, but not restarting Gramex. But if I reload, it automatically picks up the new number. That's because Gramex is capable, at least in function handler and many of these handlers, automatically reloading the Python file. But it does this only at the first level. What I mean is, supposing you created, let's say, well, let's in fact return this here itself. So if you change the YAML file like this, let's make this 200 or 300 to 400, 500. Now you can see that it's reloading the configuration. Or if it were in the Python file, then, and we change this to, let's say, 2000, 4000, and save it, and save this also, then it still picks it up. But if the your module.py imports something else, let's say import your 2 as another module, and this returns a your 2 dot run, where your 2 has a run function that returns a random number, import random, and this we save as your 2.py. So now gramex.yaml imports your module, and your module imports your 2 and runs this. Let's look. So far, it seems to be working fine. But in your 2, if I change this to, let's say, 500 to 600 and reload, it's not working. It doesn't change because Gramex can pick up changes in gramex.yaml. It can pick up changes in anything that's mentioned in gramex.yaml, but not in submodules. So just keep that in mind while debugging. If you do actually want to automatically reload modules, so you have a your module, and in that you're using your 2. And if you want to say, I want to reload your 2 whenever your 2 changes, then you can use gramex.cache.reload module. Here's how it works. Import gramex.cache, and out here you say gramex.cache.reload module of your 2. So every time the run function is run, it reloads the module, but it does it efficiently. If the file hasn't changed, then it won't reload the module. So you can, within reasonable limits, safely use this in production code. Unless you really want this function to run ultra crazily fast and have response times of less than, say, a millisecond or two. Unless you want that, you're safe to use this. Now let's reload. So that is getting us code that's in the 1000 range, in the 1000 to 2000 range, whereas we want 500 to 600. So we'll do a one-time restart of Gramex. Now we got it in the 500 to 600 range, but now let's change it to, let's say, 200 to 300 range and reload, and yeah, that works. The reason this is working is because gramex.cache.reload module is reloading that submodule. This is something that you can do in templates as well. So if you had a file handler with a template, let's say this is a file handler which takes the, what's the syntax of file handler? File handler takes a path, I presume. Yeah, a path, which let's say is index.html, and I want it to be a template. Now, in index.html, let's say we have hello world, or let's just say random number. And this random number comes from your module dot run of handler. For that, we'll have to import import your module, right? And let's save this as index.html. Now, if I open the home page, yeah, it says random and it generates this. But if I change something in your module, let's say in your module itself, I return without any of this caching, I return something from, let's say, 500 to 600, then it still doesn't change. That's because gramex.yaml goes into index.html, and index.html is just loading your module. But if your module changes, then it doesn't do anything. So you can explicitly make that happen by, again, importing gramex.cache and running. You can just run a set gramex.cache.reload module of the module here, which is your module. So every time this page is requested, it will refresh it. Oh, I forgot an import random here. Import random. Let's reload. Yeah, so that's reloaded. Now it's in the 500 to 600 range. Let's change it to the 200 to 220 range. So now all these numbers are between 200 and 220. And that's because gramex.yaml loads index.html, and index.html is reloaded, but it also explicitly reloads your module if and only if your module has changed. So that's how you can explicitly auto reload modules.